champ is here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Yes. Welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
Hey,
he is the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving the culture, giving it to the game that won't shut up and dribble. I fumbled over that a little too much in the game Merlot already. But, man, you know how we do it. We like to start the show off with giving a warm welcome to, he started in the NBA front offices, right? But you probably seen him on the TV with the worldwide sports leader, and now he's on all these type of podcasts, kind of like us. So we appreciate him giving some time. So, hey, sit back, buckle up, and let's clap it up for our man, Amin Elhassan. Let's go.
Oh, I thought y'all had a soundboard. I was like, oh, wow, you gonna have the applause noise come in too?
we can plug that.
Oh yeah, we can hit you with that if you need that. We got some sound bombs and stuff, like whatever you need.
Oh, okay.
and then we know later. We know later when you get in, we got to drop the. We dropped the bombs. Clue got to drop the bombs on them. But hey, how we like to start our show, man, is we want to get a shoot your shot moment, right? So this is where you just give us a quick story of a time you shot your shot, man. You went for it all. It could be good or bad, right? Because sometimes we shoot our shot and we fumble. You know what I mean? So give us a shoot your shot moment. Go.
We're talking generic shoot your shot or the specific trying to holler shoot your shot? Which shoot your shot we talking?
If you're going to give us the choice, we want the holler shoot your shot.
Okay. Who did I shoot my shot with, man? Hold on. I was trying to think that there was.
We got some fails on here too.
I can't look. It's a fail, but I still look at it as a success because, hey, man, like you gotta give it a go. I'm not gonna say the young star's name,
okay,
but I basically said, hey, if, like I did the ridiculous. Hey, if you're not doing anything right now, you want to go get something to eat, like. In a setting that was inappropriate, like you're not supposed to do this. A lot of people were like, "Oh, why are you talking to her?" She laughed though. I got to laugh, so
that's a win.
I can't say the name.
All good. So we're gonna move it to sports a little bit. So your love for sports, where did that start?
Oh man, I don't know, man. Like I grew up in a time where that's what everybody did. Like it wasn't even like, what is this thing? And I got interested in it. It's like I just grew up. Everybody around me was into sports. My older brother, my dad. And it wasn't like necessarily like one sport. It was everything. So I was just naturally always, I like sport. I'm very competitive. I like to compete and play. And so that was kind of my thing. And then as I got into my teenage years, that's when because I started off, I was actually really into soccer. I was a really good soccer player. But, as I got older and into high school, like basketball became more and more thing I really got into.
Okay.
And then, as I started going to college, like that's when I was like, you know what? I want to know more than just, watching the game or whatever. And so I was in a time, when in the early days of the internet, when, it's not like it is now where you're like, I want to watch more basketball and put up YouTube and pull up all these different greats from all eras and stuff.
Right.
Or I want to know more about the collective bargaining agreement. Let me go up to all these websites explaining, all these reporters explaining it. There really wasn't those kind of resources out there. So everything I learned basically by scouring and looking for these information centers, if you will. And while I was in college, I got an opportunity to work for the Atlanta Hawks. And at that time, I didn't even know I could do that as a living. I got it as a part-time job because I thought we'd go to some games for free. and then when you're in it, then you start meeting people and like, oh, this is can we curse, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do your thing.
Okay. All right. Oh, I was like, oh shit! Like, I stopped. I said, I did stop before the vowel hit. but I said, oh shit, you could do this for a living, like, and not have to have been a former pro athlete or your father owned the team, something like that, and that kind of opened the door for me to make it a career. Now, I never wanted to do media. I wanted to work in sports, and I did that for altogether about like 8 years, almost 8, 9 years, and then after that, my media stuff started, and here I am now.
So, I mean, it was a shock to me because I didn't know this, right? So how did it transition, right? Because you're at Georgia Tech, right?
Yeah.
For engineering. So that was a major. So you go in engineering major. So two things. When was that change? Or was it just a humbug? Like, yo, like I'm trying to get to some games. And then also having prideful parents, I'm sure as you have, what the hell was that conversation like? Like, Lord, listen.
That conversation stopped like 2 years ago, by the way. Don't think it ended. No, for me in high school, I was good at math and science. So immigrant parents, immigrant household, gonna be one of 4 things. You're either gonna be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, an architect. That's it. Those are your choices. I said, I don't want to do no extra school. So doctor and lawyer are out.
Yeah.
Right. And then I can't draw, so I guess architect is out too. So I said engineer. All right, So I went to Georgia Tech, and I'll be totally honest. The reason why I went to Georgia Tech was when I was at high school in New York, my senior year, we had a blizzard that hit. And it was so cold, and there was so much snow to turn to ice and all that. I was like, I am not gonna be dealing with no winters for the rest of my life. I'm going where it's warm all year round. Okay. I'm going to the South. I'm going to Atlanta. No one told me, mind you, that they have winters in Atlanta. It just
and nobody knows how to deal with them.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, and then like the other thing was like, oh, Stephon Marbury went to Tech. How hard could it be? That literally those are my 2. I had no idea. It's like the number 3 engineering school in the nation, and I had no idea. I get down there, and my freshman year roommate, is this name is Scott. He's half white, half Jewish. Oh, excuse me, half Chinese, half Jewish, from South Carolina. Loves country music, hates hip hop. I never met anyone at my age who was like, "Oh, you mean crap music?" I'm like, "What?" Like,
not crap music. That's the first.
Oh no, like, but it was like I didn't know. I thought that was stuff that like old people say, but like our age group, all of us. Oh, high school I went to, white kids, black kids, Hispanic kids. This was before reggaeton, so all the Hispanic kids was, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. They was listening to rap. They were acting like us. I was like, yeah. I just figured this was an age thing, not a demographic thing like that. So, but anyway, Scott one day like took apart the clock radio and put it back together. He said, "Why would you do that?" I said, "Because it's fun." And I was like,
that's not my fun, son. Like,
no, it started to dawn on me like, oh, these people actually wanted to be here to do this. And I just came because I'm gonna get a degree and get a job that pays really well my first year, and I'll have a job for the rest of my life. That was literally all my entire concept of college. You go so that you can get a job that you won't keep for the rest of your life, or be able to be employable anywhere. So,
kind of the basic in this country. But yeah.
I mean that was what I thought was going in, right?
Right.
And then you go in there and you realize these people are here because they're truly interested and they want to further their knowledge on this stuff.
Sure.
And I'm like, why? Like as soon as we done with class, we on the sticks. We're on the PlayStation. So, anyways, so I'm going through this. I'm not liking engineering, and I'll be honest, I wasn't a good student like in college because it was part of it was because it was challenging. I was being challenged for the first time, and I didn't know how to react to that. And part of it was because I really didn't care. It didn't inspire me in any way. Right. And so one day, I think it was my second year, I switched dorm rooms. I was now living with my buddies, and one of my homeboys came and woke me up on a Saturday morning at like 6 a.m. And he said, "Yo, the Hawks are hiring." And Saturday 6 a.m. I'm gonna tell you, you probably could tell what Friday night was like. So I said, "Get the fuck out of my room! What are you doing?" Like, I don't like. I didn't even hear what he said. I was like, "What are you get out?"
What are
Right?
you doing?
So he's like, "No, man, come on, man. They hiring da da da." I'm like, "They're not gonna hire us. Like, they're not gonna hire us." I mean, like 8,000. Well, you don't know. We go if we give it a chance. I'm like, man, this is dumb. Blah blah blah. And then he's the one that said, "Who knows? We might get to go to some games for free." And to this day, I remember I had the blanket over my head, and I would just sat.
You
there
heard that?
Yeah. I mean, that would be cool, right? Like go to a couple games for
who's
free.
on the Hawk roster at that time?
This was Mookie Blaylock, Steve Smith, Dikembe Mutombo. I mean, it was a good team. I wasn't a Hogs fan or anything, but
So who was your team? So at this point, are you a Knicks fan?
of course, I'm from New York.
You are absolutely right.
1,000% a Knicks fan, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, we go to the Knicks game for free. That'd be cool, whatever. So
Right. When the Knicks come to town, for sure.
So, by the way, I got the job, and that's when everybody got traded. That's Hawks turned trash real fast. They did the rare opposite of, most of the time it's like, hey, we're opening a new arena. The team has to be great.
Right.
They did the opposite. They were good, and they were like, we'll open a new arena. Shut all the shit down. So, we go there, and I'm like, 1,000 people show up. 500. I don't know. A lot of people showed up. They hired 6, and me and my roommate were 2 of the 6. And so this job was, when I say entry level, man, you might have to take a ladder to get up to ground level. That kind of entry level. It was glorified street team. They call it field marketing.
Yeah.
And that's when you do that's when you are going on the weekends from mall to mall. You set up a little carnival kind of atmosphere like on Thursday night. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, people are coming. They're like checking how big their hand is compared to the Kembe's, and my foot size, my shoe size compared to, so and so, and shoot 3 free throws in a row, and you get 2 tickets to a game.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did this, and that's when I started to get to know people, and I was like, oh wow, would you like? You just went to college for this? Like, yeah, sports management. And I'm like, word, okay,
Word.
Oh, that's cool. And I'm like, I'm still kind of like, that's cool. Like, I don't want to do this, obviously, but like, you're working for a team. That's pretty cool.
Right.
So then, at the end of the year, like the best of this team get transitioned over to in-arena operations. So that's we get transferred over to in-arena operations, and so now I'm there on game days. I'm getting to know the players and stuff. I'm getting to know coaches. I love telling this story because I work with this guy now at SiriusXM. The first NBA person I legit met and knew was Rick Mahorn. And this is how we met. I was carrying boxes. This is before like at 4 o'clock or whatever on a 7 o'clock game day, whatever. I'm carrying boxes down the hallway. Rick Mahorn comes in from where he parked, walks up, and knocks the fuck out of the boxes out of my hand, like. And then
pick up the boxes.
No, he didn't even say shit. He just kept walking and laughing. Didn't even make it. So
yeah,
like I'm like, what the hell, man? But like, and I know now, like that's his way of saying, hey man, you cool or whatever. So like I got to know Rick through that. And so you talk to the scouts, and now I'm like, okay, this is I want to do basketball operations.
Right. Now you're on to something. You're like, hold on.
Yeah. Like this is cool. Being close to the action is cool.
Right.
But I want it to be a part of like putting it together, So I made up my mind. I said, all right, I'm not gonna be an engineer anymore. I'm gonna transfer out, and I want to do sports management. And my parents were like, what? Like, you want to give up like a short thing basically to follow this thing that isn't even serious or whatever, and and what kind of job can you get with a sports management degree?
And that's backpack. So people understand. So you were born in Sudan. So
yeah.
That heritage is very strong where, your parents, want the best for you. And like you said, you get those 4 options. So
dog, I'm telling you, like every African immigrant knows, and probably most immigrants overall know what I'm talking about. But I say African because I always remember like Chene Ogumake, who obviously is a great elite basketball player and
Correct.
great media career and all that stuff. And so her older sister was an MVP and her younger sister got drafted. And so when her younger sister got drafted, now at this point, I'm saying, like, your older sister's an MVP, went to Stanford. You went to Stanford, you were the #1 overall pick. Y'all are like big time players, endorsement deals, everything. You know, she got a whole media career basically off of this.
Right.
You think like, yo, by the time the youngest sister who just graduated from Rice, another great school, gets drafted, like the family be like, all right, cool. And I was
This
like,
is
yo,
a lane. Like, this is a lane.
yeah.
that
So I said, Shanae, were your parents like really excited that your sister got drafted? Like, no, they wanted her to go to medical school. Like, they're like this one, another one wasting her life, you know? So that's kind of like that's really the vibe, you know. At any moment, like if things start to look shaky, it's kind of like, yeah, I told you to stick with that.
Correct, right? Like I always told you. So, how often or when's the last time you've been back to Sudan or home or anything?
20 years, man.
Really?
And the last time I went to Sudan was a month before 9/11.
Oh,
9/11 happened, and I was
There's
like, I'm not risking that one. Talking about where have you been? Why have you been here? No.
Oh,
No, that's too far. No. So
right.
I have, and it's changed a lot, you know, and I hear, you know, I have cousins and friends and stuff that go back
Right.
all the time. And there's just a part of me that's like, I don't know, man. Like I just have this thought in the back of my mind. I go and then some shit happened and now I'm stuck. And I'm like, I don't want to be stuck there. So, but anyway.
My fond memory of the Sudan is white men can't jump.
Yep. Well, you shooting the Ghana?
He's like, no,
no, my brother. Yeah, man. We have like pockets of moments in pop culture. Like that's us right there. You know? Yeah, I remember.
So
with
that,
like,
I mean, is basketball growing with some of the initiatives, like, you know, besides Jerry, and you know, now they announced that the president is doing that stuff with basketball and Africa, how that's working? Or have you heard, you know, your family members and people, or just you know, knowing the sports world, have you seen any kind of growth with that?
In Sudan, not. It's behind. We're behind other countries, and a lot of that has to do with we had a split in a secession of the South, right? 10 years ago, Sudan was one big country. It was the biggest country in Africa. And then they had a referendum, and then the people in South Sudan decided they want to have their own country, which God bless them, they deserved it. So they voted, they got it, they seceded. And South Sudan is really, when you talk about Sudanese basketball, it's like it's imagine like if like it's just gonna sound messed up, but like imagine if Texas, Alabama, and Florida seceded from the United States, and we're like.
Like
are we still nice
right now, football?
SEC's doing football. It's like, are we still nice at football? Like, yeah, but all the players over there, right? So Luol Deng is the president of the South Sudan Basketball Federation, and they're over there in qualifiers right now for AfroBasket, and they're doing great and all that. And they're ahead of us because they're ahead of us in talent, and I think also South Sudan has more of a culture of basketball. So that the kids growing up, they want to be ball players. Whereas in Sudan, I think soccer is still a #1 thing for guys out there.
Got you.
So New York City basketball, Knicks fan, getting into the front office scouting world. Were you just looking at every guard that can dribble, or how was that transition into the scouting world for you?
So when I left Atlanta, I went to Phoenix.
Yeah,
to go to school. I finished up my degree, and like my last year of undergrad, I had it basically where I had like 2 courses left to graduate. And so I got an internship with the Knicks in basketball ops. And I basically, one of my courses I did at St. John's, and the other one was the internship course. So I just had to write a paper at the end of it. That was like my indoctrination. Like, okay, everything you've been doing has been ragtag MacGyver style, whatever you could find. Now you're in the building. Boom, collective bargaining agreement. Here's the book. Read it. And that's like I started learning about a lot. I learned about analytics when I was working for the Knicks. I didn't know anything about analytics until the guy I worked for was like, this is the future. This is how teams are going to find value in places that they hadn't seen before. Yeah. And so I really like, but at first it was a lot of self-learning. It's like now I've got resources available to me, but it wasn't a whole lot of hand-holding because everybody's always busy. So
Right.
I started working on projects on my own. And then they noticed and they were like, "You did all this?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so then they started kind of like giving me stuff to do. And that kind of really got me going. But at the end of it, it's still an internship, and the intern sat at an intern desk, and so there was no room for me. So I had to go home, but I had to get the hell out of there. So luckily, the whole reason I went to Arizona for undergrad was because at the time ASU had the #1 graduate program in sports business. So in my mind, I was like, "Ooh, if I go to ASU undergrad, that'll give me a leg up in getting in." So I met the director or whatever, and he said, "We kind of need 2 years of work experience or whatever." I was like, "All right." But I worked for the Knicks for a year, and then I came back. I was like, "What's good?" And he said, "Look, I'll tell like the admissions thing that like you have 1 year of work experience doing this, and then I'll take the Hawks stuff as another year of work experience. You got to score this on the GMAT, and I'll get you in." So I scored that on the GMAT, and I came out like, "Is it too late?" He's like, "No, we got you." Got me into the program.
Nice.
Program is an MBA program, like it's an actual MBA. We'll go there with the finance people and all that stuff. But everyone has like own concentration, right? You do all the general MBA stuff, and then in your second year, that's when you do your concentration. So for me, obviously, it was sports. So between your first year and your second year, you're supposed to do an internship. So I went to the Suns. I was like, "What's good?" Like I just come off of this year. I'm working for the Knicks in basketball ops. I'm in this program. It's #1 in the country. I got ideas. I got like things I can do. Da da da. They're like, "Cool." And then at the last minute says, "Sorry, can't give it to you because we gave it to someone else." And the someone else was the nephew of one of the part owners who was a senior in high school.
Oh,
damn.
Hey,
This is America, Jack.
Yeah.
that's how that shit works.
Shout out to Cleo.
McDowell for sure. And that's how that works. I mean, as much as it's a great vertical to work in, there's a lot of that in there.
Absolutely. You got to be ready for it, and you got to be ready to pivot. And that's what I did. So I ended up interning for a basketball tournament that was aimed at Native American high school kids to get them looks at NCAA colleges, D1, D2, D3, right? And it was the only NCAA certified high school tournament, summer tournament that was for Native American kids. And because it was for Native American kids, we lobbied to the NCAA, said, "Look, you can't do the usual state restrictions of you have to have local players because these kids are from tribes, and these tribes are all over the country, and they're really nations." So the NCAA gave us like a pass, basically said, "Okay." So we had like the Cherokee Nation, and kids were coming from all over the country. You had the Seminoles and the Iroquois, and obviously Navajo Nation, and and so it was. But the cool thing was it was co-owned by Mark West, who's the time is the vice president with the Suns. So I was like, small company. If I come in, I do a good job, maybe that'll get the right impression.
Right.
So that basically is what's happened. So in our second year, as I said, most of your courses were what do you call it? Group projects. It wasn't necessarily a classroom stuff. It was like group project stuff. So the idea was that you could get a fellowship. You could work during your second year. And so I went back to the Suns. Like, "Yo, you kind of fucked me over for the summer.
Right.
How about now?" And Gina Marie Scarpa, who was the co-owner with Mark, was like, "Did you talk to Mark?" I was like, "I don't want to bother him. I'm going through the guy I talked to for the summertime." She's like, "No." She hung up on me. She called Mark. 15 minutes later, I got a call from my guy who said, "All right, man, you start on Monday." And that's how I started working for the Suns.
Wow. Wow.
So,
I mean, so you were on the actual, basketball side and things like that. What was your favorite part? Because you did it all. Like you said, you started from being on the street team to scouting to marketing to. So what was, I guess, your favorite role, just to not, hang up in there, that you did during that process? Because you were in the front office side for almost 8 years as well, right?
Yep.
So
6 years in Phoenix,
Okay.
and then the year in New York, and
New
then
York.
I would say 2 years in Atlanta. That first year didn't count because I was at the mall. I was at the mall, dude. I was out here hustling. You know, like you got to hit 3 free throws, but you know, you $10, you get 3 shots, make all 3, you get tickets to the game. The dope boys would come to the mall, pants sagging, holding the sag.
Hold on.
Miss. Stop. Give me a bit. And then at some point, hey man, I'm gonna give you 100. Just give me 2 tickets. And I'm like, I mean, we're not supervised here, so yeah, like, and like, hey, I wasn't greedy. I was giving kickbacks back to the envelope. Like, all right, there, we were doing well, but you know, I just had a nice little roll of my own. You know,
Let's
going
go.
to Foot Locker, the Foot Locker guy giving me the employee discount for a couple of tickets to the game. Like, hey, the goal is to get people to come into the arena, right? The goal isn't to get people to shoot free throws. Right. So, as entertaining as that was, I don't really count that towards my basketball experience. But oddly enough, I do count like the 2 years in arena, and I do count. I count those, even though those ones in basketball operations. It's still, when you work for a team, like it just gives you an insight on how everything works, how those relationships are, how people talk to one another, how you talk to one guy this way, the other guy that way. And I was learning all these things, and I felt like like I said, I had mentorship because like I had Rick. Rick was telling me things and da da da. You know, like I remember one time Paul Silas walked up and smacked the shit out of Rick, back of his head, and Rick turned around and looked at me. No, I wasn't. That wasn't like a playful tap. I mean, talking about one of them, it echoed across the arena. Rick turned around. He thought it was me, and I said, "Now, what in our history together makes you think that I would do that, man? First of all, my hand's not that big. Paul Silas' hand is bigger than my laptop. Bro, like, what are you talking about?" But like, then he sat me down, told me about Paul Silas and that. Like, I knew Paul Silas was, oh yeah, Coach Silas. But he told me like Paul Silas, like who he was as a player and his reputation and stuff. So I was learning all these things, you know, on the ground right there. So that when I got to the Knicks job, I wasn't some kid wet behind the ears. Oh my God, I'm working in the NBA. Like I knew how to like communicate with people and like just kind of the vibe and the jargon or whatever. And that put me ahead, I think, of a lot of even the other interns who didn't quite get it like that. So by the time I got to Phoenix, it was like I've done this. This isn't new. But as far as my favorite role, I mean, shit, man. Assistant director was pretty goddamn good, man. Like, because it was like I didn't have a boss. I just did whatever there was a need. I just helped out in, and so it was a little video and little scouting, and a little like creating the scouting schedule and helping with the cap sheets and working players out and helping out on the court and setting up, help you know, what do you call it? Rookie orientation. Training camp, summer league. Like I did a little bit of everything. Pre-draft. It was a great opportunity. G League, going down to G League with prospects, and like those were all the things that I think really expanded. Because before that, I was in office only, video coordinator in a video room. See the coaches, see the scouts, but I'm not out there. I didn't know anybody. And now I think about like all the people I know around the league and how many of them like I met because I got out of the office. So Nick Nurse, you know, Toronto Raptors head coach, he was our G League head coach. Yeah. So that's how I knew Nick in 2008 and 2009. Nice. So when he wins a championship and everyone's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, man, like I've been on that dude. So that's my guy. That's my man right there. So it's one of those things where it really did a lot for me. And I got to give credit to the people I work for because Steve Kerr, David Griffin, and Mark West, and John Shoemate too, and Todd Quinter. I don't want to leave people out. These were all guys that were lifers. They were all lifers in different walks, right? Steve and Mark and Shoe played. Steve played in the 90s and a little bit in the 80s. Mark played pretty much the 80s and 90s because Mark played 100 years. Shoe played in the 70s. Like Shoe could tell me about guarding Kareem, like his experiences playing against Kareem. Mark will tell me about guarding Hakeem and Shaq and like the differences there. Steve Kerr talked about playing with Michael Jordan, playing with Tim Duncan, playing for Greg Popovich and Phil Jackson, all these different like things, and and then you throw in the Dan Marleys and the Alvin Gentrys and all I'm always very upfront. People are like, you can't hoop. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, that's why I don't play. Like, duh. Oh shit. What gave it away? My lack of an NBA career, but like what I'm great at is I'm a sponge. I'm around these people. I listen to these stories. I hear these stories. Going back when I was with the Knicks, I was with Isaiah, and so I got to learn. Like I got to learn from Hall of Famers, man, my whole career. So to me, my whole thing was like, I don't know anything because you find out real quick. You think you know, but you don't know shit. So like you get in there and then you start to listen and learn for like the cues, the things they're looking for and all that. And sometimes it's what they look for in a player. Sometimes it's kind of like going back to themselves as players. Yeah, you just soak it all in. And then from guys like Griff and Todd Quinn or whatever, they didn't play, but they worked in the league for like since the 80s and stuff. And again, seeing Charles Barkley and seeing all of this stuff happen and work with Jerry Colangelo. And so I'm learning from them too. And at some point you become smart, not because you lived it,
right,
but because you've seen it been lived, and it's, they say, I ain't got to die to know death. I could just walk through the graveyard. And it's the same thing. Kind of like I walked among the tombstones with all these guys. I kind of picked up a lot of stuff.
No, that's facts, man. So kind of continuing on into the game in your career, man. So now you switch over and you get into the media side, right? So that's a whole journey, and it logs on. And you don't go to a media career starting at your local ABC station, the local affiliate. You you jump right on over to ESPN.
Bro, I'd never done anything by way of media. I had no idea. Like I tell people all the time, it's like if right now somebody comes in and says, "Hi, I'm from NASA. Do you want to be an astronaut?" And you're like, "Oh, shit, I ain't got something else to do." Like, all right, let's go. Let me try it. I don't know. And then you try it and you realize, apparently I'm good at this. So you want to go to the moon? All right, I guess we'll go to the moon then. Like, so
figure it out.
So for me, I left the Sun. So I was working in a great era with great people, and then they left, and then new people came in, and they were terrible. Just the worst bad people and bad at their job. And that's really hard to transition from being among elite people to that, right? Like I think, what year was it? No, it came. Would it be this year? So this year was the first time. I'm just trying to make sure. The first time since I left the Suns in 2012 that there was an NBA Finals that was played without either a player or a coach that I'd worked with. Every single NBA Finals, there was somebody there that they was with me. 2013, it was Boris. 2014 also was Boris. 2015 was the Warriors. That was Steve Kerr, Alvin Gentry, Jaron Collins, Leandro Barbosa. The list goes. Nick Uren, just like everybody there. And then also in Cleveland, I had Griff and Raja were there. And then Toronto, Nick Nurse. And then and obviously the Warriors, still all the guys that I know. And then 2020, Jared Dudley was on the Lakers. So he was with us in Phoenix against the Heat. And so this year was the first year, like, I mean, I could count my man Max, who's does team security for the Suns, but I think that's a little bit of a stretch. But my point is, like we influenced the way that the rest of the league played, and then the people I worked for left and won the next 4 championships, right? Between the 3 in Golden State and the 1 in Cleveland. I mean, that's four championships won by people I worked for, Steve Kerr and David Griffin. And so to then have to like work for people who didn't know what they were doing was just kind of like, what am I doing here?
Right.
So that was a tough transition for me for 2 years. So at the end of it, I was like, the hell with this, I'm out of here. And so I thought I was going to get a job somewhere else. There, probably reached out to maybe like 22 teams. and 6 of them came back to me with what I would call respectful replies. Yo, we know you, we know your references, we just don't have anything, or we got stuff, but like we're not gonna ask you
to that
like,
level.
Yeah, so like I'll give you a great example. Tommy Shepard, who's the GM for the Wizards, was like, I mean, we're hiring an assistant video guy, but like, dude, you're not gonna be assistant video. Like, that's like 3 levels below where you are.
Right.
I don't want to disrespect you. And I'm like, yo, I appreciate that. I get it. I couldn't do it either because at that point I have a kid, you know, and I need to, it's not just me. Like I'll work anywhere and I'll live like in a hostel or whatever. It's like now I have to provide. So that wasn't, I needed a real job. So, you know, there were about 6 teams that did that. And then there were like, I want to say like 10 teams that did the thank you for your interest. We don't have anything, but we'll keep it on file. And I'm like, bro, I'm not a kid from college. I'm not like, I didn't just graduate yesterday. I'm coming to you with like 6 years experience with one of the best teams in the league and, you know, almost a decade overall and references that are like top of the line people. Yeah. Like the least you owe me is it, like I said, the respectful no. I'm not here to say I deserve a job, but I am here to say that there's a way you say no, because I know the form letter. I used to be the nigga that threw the form letter out.
Right.
You got guys that are like, yo, you know, I live in Iowa and I watch all the games and I've come up with a system that's gonna revolutionize. Like you get that all the time. I'm clearly not that. So that upset me, but also I kept a mental note of all those teams. I'm like, you know, like I will remember that. Yeah. And so I'm sitting around and there are like 2 or 3 teams I still hadn't heard back from. And I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens. My buddy's working at ESPN at the time. He says to me, he'd always wanted me to be on the podcast. And I said, I can't do it. I'm a team employee. They won't let me. So now he's like, yo, I saw you left. Can you do it now? And I said, sure. So we did a digital video, and I thought, like, man, one of these teams is going to see it, and they're going to say, "Oh yeah, we just heard from him the other day. Let's bring him in." And what happened was ESPN said, "Does he want to write?" And my buddy said, "Do you want to write?" And I said, "I've never written anything other than scouting reports and college papers, but shit, I'll give it a try. Like, if you want me to be an astronaut, oh well, let me get my helmet. I'll be right there." So, I wrote something as like a sample, and they're like, all right, let's do this. We'll pay you by the piece. You write 10 pieces. And if at the end of it, we'll evaluate if we like you, if you like doing it, we'll talk about something more permanent. And probably by the 3rd or 4th piece, they were like, come to Bristol, let's start negotiating. Because they never had, like, they wanted someone to write from a front office perspective. Everyone they had was either a former player or a former coach. Or a journalist. And so they didn't have the front office guys they had tried in the past were like never wanted to step on anybody's toes. So everything was mad generic and boring. So I was the one. I was like, they asked me to write about something, and I was like, all right, so you can do this. I wrote it like a scouting report. And then one of the players in the deal, like, this guy's a nobody. Don't, like, it's not gonna matter. He's there just to make the numbers work.
Right.
And they were like, oh man, like, I'm like, what do you want me to say? Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, because
that's the fact.
The old heads that I learned from were like, why? The only reason you bullshit is to cover your ass if you're wrong. This is the only reason. My man Dickie McGuire, Hall of Famer, God rest his soul. Yo, his scouting reports would literally be like 3 sentences long if you were good, like 2 sentences long if you were bad, and then CNP. That means cannot play.
Not play.
Yeah, like, I'm not even gonna waste my breath. This dude can't play. And by the way, this wasn't like guys that were going undrafted. I'm talking about like dudes that were supposed to be top 60 picks. CNP cannot play. And I said, Dickie, how could you say that? And he's like, yo, man, like, because we know who can play and who can't play, man. The only reason to write anything more than that is because you're trying to cover your ass in case you were wrong. But like, sometimes, you know, you just ain't wrong. And so, yeah, man, like, shout out to Dickie. And it's true. Like, the guy he said that about was a dude, I'll never forget it. all year long on the mock drafts, he was a top 5 pick.
Mm-hmm.
Then, like, close to the draft, it was like, okay, he's a first round pick. And then like on draft day, hold on. Yeah, he went second round. And he played exactly 17 games in the league. So now this is a dude who at the time was top 5 on the mock drafts.
Yeah.
Playing for a Power 5 conference team.
I love that you're on here. I want to put a pause on that right quick because I feel like the NBA is like 17-year-old, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, all draft is like all potential, right? So how do you really know who's a guy, who's not a guy based on high school stuff, right? Or 1 year in college? Like, how do you really know?
So for most of these players, my year with the Knicks was the last year we scouted high school kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
The last year you could scout high school kids because after that they put the age restriction, and then they made it you can only go to these certain tournaments. So by the time I got to the Suns, it's like, all right, the new system is here. And the reality is what you do is you start tracking these guys. You can't like contact or go to their high school games, but you're tracking them. And then the allowable things were all the obviously McDonald's, Jordan Classic, those type of things, the practices for that. But then any international setting. So if you're playing for USA basketball, that's all good.
Yeah.
Under 17, and it's under 19, under 20, like all that stuff is fair game. If you're Adidas Nations, Nike Global Challenge, any one of these things where it's like quite an all-star event where they're bringing international kids in and stuff, that was fair game. So you're tracking them throughout all that. You're scouting them. And then honestly, the big thing is all really, and that's to this day, I still think intel is more important than like, oh, he's really good off the left foot. Like, no. Like that stuff, anyone can watch video and figure that stuff out. But like the intel, how much does he love basketball? How does he interact with people? How does he interact with his teachers? How does he interact with his teammates, with his coaches, and and like that's the stuff that's the real gold. Where you start to figure out, all right, this dude is somebody that we need to keep an eye on. So I'll give you a good example of that. Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday in high school was dominant, won a bunch of CIF titles and all that stuff. But Campbell Hall, smaller school. You're following him, you're watching him, and then he goes to UCLA. He's playing behind Darren Collison on a team that I believe had just come off a Final Four. So it's like, yeah, he's not getting a lot of minutes, and he's fighting with the coach. But all the intel was like, this dude is like A1 when it comes to character, leadership, stuff like that. And when we brought him in for the interview, he talked very openly and frankly about his experience at UCLA. He didn't just shit on his coach the whole time, but also he didn't like make it seem like, oh, everything was great. I loved it there. I was like, yeah, man, well, I didn't see eye to eye on things and da-da-da. And part of that I could have handled better. And part of that felt like they could have just played me. But, you know, at the end of the day, like I walked out of it and I said, it's the greatest interview I've ever sat in on. Wow. Like to this day, I've never seen a better pre-draft interview than Drew Holiday. You just got that combined with like what you saw him do in high school, what little he did in college, because you're not looking for numbers, you're looking for like the ability to do stuff and the recognition to do stuff.
Yeah.
When you've got that going, now it's like, okay, you're not ready to help me right now, but you have all the things that show me that you can learn how to
building blocks, right? To get to where we need you. Okay.
Yep.
So really quick, man, we do have these quick hits, man. I want to get into those. MH, you got them quick hits?
Yeah.
So these are just the rapid fires, man. So we're coming at you.
Greatest of all time basketball player. NBA.
Man.
I gotta ask you a GOAT question. I got to.
Look, I'm gonna say this. The greatest that I've seen was Michael Jordan.
Okay.
But I know that
there's
heads that are older than me that say, well, that's because you never saw Kareem. Like when Kareem was Kareem. You saw Kareem when he was an old man. You didn't see Kareem in his prime. Or you ain't see Oscar in his prime. And so I understand that the answer to this question just tells you more about when you grew up more than anything else. Not really the real answer. So
Okay.
I'm gonna say Jordan, but I understand people who say LeBron. I'm not like one of those people like that's preposterous. Like I can be swayed.
Steve Kerr, the GM, or Steve Kerr, the coach?
Steve Kerr, the coach. Steve Kerr hated GMing, man. He hated it. He's miserable. He was miserable because it just wasn't what he was used to. You know, he's a player and he thought it was going to be like being a player. And nothing's like being a player, but being a coach is closer to that than being a GM.
Ben Simmons. Is he on the Sixers or is he on another team? And if he's on another team, your prediction on where?
He's on another team. I'm gonna say Golden State. I'm not even confident in that answer. I'm confident he'll be on another team. I'm not confident what team it'll be, but I guess Golden State would be my pick.
There you go.
Top 5. All right, if you not a top 5, like if you had a starting lineup of all the players and execs and everybody that you had association with, if you had a starting lineup, who would be in that starting lineup? Everybody that you worked with.
Are we counting players or not?
Yeah, players.
Count
players.
No, I mean like guys that I worked with when they were players, not players that I worked with when they were in the front office.
Correct, guys.
That's tough. Steve Nash.
Okay.
Raja Bell. Grant Hill. David Griffin. Oh, I'm gonna go, man.
Last one.
Oh, man, it's gonna kill me. I hope they don't listen to this. Mark West. Mark West. But like I feel bad because like I said, man, I stole from everybody I worked with. John Shoemate, Isaiah Thomas, Steve Kerr, Shaquille O'Neal, Jared Dudley, Jaron Collins, like the number Goran Dragic, Robin Lopez, like so many people that I learned, regardless of whether it was active teaching, Rick Mahorn, whether it was active teaching or passive teaching, just me observing them. I learned stuff from all those people. Alvin Gentry, Mike D'Antoni. It's a lot of people, but like I think because those guys that I named are like people that I think went above and beyond looking out for me.
Gotcha.
And so like I want to give them the props.
This isn't a quick hit, man, but while we're on here, man, I got to give you love on this. You had a take with this recent NBA finals that definitely was like similar to what I would feel, right? So after Milwaukee won the championship, I don't know him, right? I don't know Monty Williams, but I thought it was a little bit of a LeBron-esque to go into the championship room to say, "Oh, great job! We were better as coaches. I'm a better coach. We're a better team for you guys beating us." Like, let them celebrate, and you can tell them at another time. So I wanted to salute you because that is definitely how I feel about the situation as well.
My whole thing it wasn't about what he said. I believe he's sincere in what he said. I'm just saying that didn't have to be the moment. And this whole but they pulled me in. Like, I'll be honest, man. Like, we all grew up where you visit your friend's house and his mom says, "Oh, you gotta stay and eat." And you know, like, mom gonna kill me if I don't come home in time. So you just say, "No, I already ate." You just lie. You say anything. Thank you. I really appreciate it. No, honestly, we gotta do this some other time, but I can't do this right now.
Right.
So this idea, like, well, next thing I knew, like, no, man.
Yeah.
You know what a locker room looks like. You know, I'm gonna tell you, like, literally, when the Warriors won their first championship, so I go in the locker room to congratulate LB. That's my guy, man. That's my, like, again, it's hard to leave people off the list, but he's one of my guys for real.
Barbosa.
Yeah, and LB is drunk. He don't drink, but he doesn't drink at all. So now imagine him on champagne. It's like
right. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm sitting there in the locker room. I'm just talking to him, low key or whatever. And then the PR guy comes and says, "LB, you got to take your picture with the trophy." The way it works in the NBA Finals, like on championship day, the trophy has its own room. and everybody goes individually to that room with their family. They take the picture. Take a picture by themselves, take a picture with the family, and then they leave. That was my whole point. It's like, yo, if you wanted to catch up with him, you could have stood right there by that trophy room, waited for his ass to get there, and then you could have told him that, and then waited for Coach Bud to get there, told him that, and waited for whoever else you need to tell him. You didn't have to go to knock on the door like, I think this is just an office. You could have waited right at that door. I know this because I've been to it, but I'm in the locker room, right? Again, I'm just talking to LB or whatever, and so PR guy says, you got to go. And so LB says, bring it here. He's drunk. I'm like, no, that's not how it works, LB. You got to go there. So, all right, let's go. And I'm like, what are you talking to? You coming with me? Let's go. I'm like, well, all right. So I think he wants me to walk him there.
Right.
So we walk there. We get there. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna chill right out here in the hallway until you're done and come back. No, man. You coming inside right now. I said, LB, I'm not, what? You want me to take a picture? Like, yes, you're going to take the picture. I'm like, I'm not going to get in the picture. So then security is like, he's got a media pass. No media allowed in there. Just team and family. Right. And LB flips out on the security guard. That's my family. That's my family, man. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So he's making a scene. I'm like, I'm going to go in there. So there's a picture of me and LB and like one of our homies and his girl at the time and his kid. And like, and it's like, and I'm literally the look on my face, like, what the hell is happening here? But literally, I just like, I didn't. That's a scene was created in order for that to happen.
Absolutely.
So you know, it's one of those things. And the funny thing to me was everywhere I had that take, I expressed Monty is great.
No, he's great. Yeah,
a class human being. He's better than 99% of us, myself included. But you can't tell me there's not some part of you that said, "Come on, bro,
come on."
And people, and the thing is, people who are just so hot to try to defend his class, their answer was to cuss me out, death threats, all types of, yo, don't come, da. If you see you in these streets, I'm like. Yeah, that's why I posted this shit on Instagram. I was like, when the guy said, "Oh, don't come to Phoenix. If we see you in the streets, it's on site." And I was like, "Where the fuck am I right now? Am I not
in right?" I
posted the Instagram video. I was like, and the street said, "Jigga can't come back home." You know why I heard that? When I was back home. And I'm like, "What are we doing here, man?" But it's insane to go to that level to defend anyone who doesn't know you, for one. But for two, to defend someone who's about class and like holiness and humility, you're gonna defend them like that? Yeah, all right, great. Now I know religious wars happen, right? Like Jesus said, love everybody. Fuck you, man. Jesus said, love everybody. I'm gonna kill you if you don't love everybody. Is that? And then the other thing was the number of players, coaches, execs, media people, agents who texted me, "Hey man, you brave for saying that shit, but you 100% accurate."
Yeah, I mean, you are, man.
That's the standard I hold myself to. I don't care about fans. I care about those people.
Yeah.
So last on kind of, I guess, the quick hits, wrapping those out. So we know where your stance is on Steve Nash getting 2 MVPs. Mm-hmm. What do you think about his route to coaching? Too soon? Right timing?
No, I like, to me, it comes down to this league is built on players. The players made this league. People like me, I fight, I claw, I try. Like, that's cool. And we deserve recognition too. And shout out to Jamal Mosley and Wes Unseld and all the other guys that grinded their way to those positions. But Jason Kidd got the Nets job before he was even retired being a player for the Knicks.
Wow.
Doc Rivers got the Orlando Magic job while he was calling games on TNT. Mark Jackson got the Warriors job while he was calling the games on ESPN. Steve Kerr got the Warriors job while he was calling games on TNT.
Right.
We have a history of saying you contributed to this league as a player, much like years and years ago, I got a pass on 2 years work experience requirement to get into the ASU MBA program.
Because you put in time.
Because you put in time that is the equivalent of 2 years work experience. If I worked 2 years for Target, like in target management, would that make me better for that program? No, absolutely not. So same thing here. It's like these guys, they paid their dues in a different way. Playing 17 years in the league, 15 years, or whatever it was. To me, at the end of the day, you got that experience that gets you the right to cut the line. And there's no, because Jamal played overseas.
Yeah.
And David Vanderpool, who's still searching for his first job, played overseas, and he's still waiting. Jamal waited how many years? Damn near 20 years. Steven Silas waited 20 some odd years. Like
Patrick
when you
Ewing
play,
still,
what's up?
I said Pat Ewing still.
Yeah, still looking for his first NBA job. He had to go back to his alma mater for it. But the point is, like, you know, people are like, "What about Becky Hammond?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, Becky Hammond." When people were like a couple years ago, Becky Hammond deserves a job. Like, she's in the back row.
Right.
That's like, if you know the NBA, that's how I know if you know the NBA or not. If you know the NBA or not, the people in the back row, the next step up for you is to be in the front row.
Yeah.
The people in the front row, okay, now you might be talking about getting interviewed for head jobs.
Right.
You guys say, why isn't she being interviewed? Well, because she's not there yet. But she played, and that I'm like, that's cool. But do you know how many of these assistant coaches also played?
Yeah.
Some of them have balling ass careers.
Yeah.
In leagues that are really good. Euro League and Spanish League and the Turkish League. But guess what? They're not the NBA. And so, yeah, those players are going to get a shortcut. And I'm all for that. As long as they also bring the other attributes of why they would be a good coach. And in the case of Steve Nash, I knew, first of all, people say he had no coaching experience. False. He had worked in Golden State for a couple of years. Yep. And then second of all, I knew that Steve, from working with him, IQ, one of the smartest basketball players I've ever met.
Oh, definitely.
Communication, tremendous. And then most importantly, for that particular job,
yeah,
he's a different dude. Jason Kidd, Mark Jackson, I love both of those guys, but they're like, hoop is everything. If you're not about hoop, do you really give a shit about this, right? They're really, really, really like focusing on that. Steve Nash is a dude who's like, I like skateboarding. Some off seasons, I never touched a basketball. I just skateboarded the whole time. I like making movies. I like, and when the Iraq war broke out, he was one of the only athletes who said, this is a bad war. Why are we in this? When everybody else was doing rah-rah, Democrats and Republicans, this dude said, this is wrong. So if you're talking about someone who's going to relate to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
No, I was thinking Kyrie Irving the whole time. I was like, oh,
from Kevin Durant's standpoint, I'm an artist. I have a businessman plan and I want to make movies and all that stuff. I want to be outside of basketball. From Kyrie Irving's perspective, I'm an artist. Also, I care about Native American rights and civil rights and all that stuff. Like, here's a dude's like, yeah, I did all that. I did it when I was MVP. I didn't do it like when it was over and done with. I did it at the height of my
when I didn't have nothing to lose. I did it like at the.
I did it.
Yeah.
I wore a shoe that was made out of recycled material, called it garbage time. Like you want to talk someone who understands or speaks that language? Like Steve Nash speaks that language better than Jason Kidd or Mark Jackson do, in my opinion. That don't mean those guys aren't good coaches or should work, whatever. I'm just saying, like, I see the connection. And then finally, obviously, the GM played with him. And how many times are people hired because of that relationship? I've seen it myself. We hired Terry Porter in Phoenix because Steve Kerr and Terry Porter played together in San Antonio.
Yeah,
they had the connection, and that happens too.
So Jared Dudley's going to be a head coach here pretty soon. I think he's on the front row
in 3 years.
Yeah,
within 3 years, he's going to be a head coach, and he's going to be great.
Yep.
All right, man. So jump into the winner's circle, man. It's the platform, and we want to talk about it because you don't stop, man, and you have a couple podcasts that you really promoting now. So you want to start with what's the Cinephobe podcast, and where's the background of that, and where did that come from?
So Cinephobe is the podcast where Zach Harper and I watch movies that are really poorly rated on Rotten Tomatoes, and we try to ascertain whether these movies are accurately poorly rated or maybe they didn't get a fair shake.
Okay.
Cinephobe is produced by Anthony Mays, wherever you get podcasts.
So really quick, did you ever review Coming to America 2?
Oh, that's on the list. That's on the list. We got, so this year, the whole year of 2021, we've been doing theme months Because
Theme,
before
okay.
we just each of us would just pick a movie.
Okay.
And we go. And then we said for 2021, we're going to do theme months. And we're alternating between actor and theme, actor, theme. So January was Nick Cage. February was Black History Month.
Okay.
March was
I like
Ben
this.
Affleck. April was Oscars.
If you white, you Ben Affleck.
Yes, pretty much. Reindeer games. We watched reindeer games of that.
Okay.
Like May was Travolta month. June was superheroes. July was whatever.
right.
And August was rom-com. Now we start Wesley Snipes month. So we have a month coming up.
Blade Runner 2.
So far we did tomorrow drops the first Wesley Snipes movie. It's a movie called Future Sport. It was a made-for-TV movie that came on ABC that Wesley Snipes executive produced.
Oh boy!
And directed by Ernest Dickerson, the longtime great cinematographer for Spike Lee. So it's pretty terrible. Yeah, and then we just recorded. We recorded Passenger 57 today. So
nice.
Yeah. So it's like we got themes. So one of the themes that's coming up is sequels month. All movies that had to be sequels.
So there you go. So go ahead and throw.
Jam.
No, we did
Space Jam on there.
We did Coming to America review. So definitely check that out when you get a chance. But we're gonna
don't do that. It's a good movie, man.
It is anyway. It is not a good movie. Thank you. It is not a
family reunion, man.
Anyway, moving on, and then we're still working on doing Space Jams too. I haven't worked up the must to
we did
watch
that one.
Y'all did that one?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm gonna have to watch that.
Quick preview.
It's trash.
But I always thought Space Jam was trash. So.
Oh wow, I like that. Okay.
It's the same kind of trash. It's a commercial. Space Jam was a commercial for Gatorade and McDonald's. This one's a commercial for Warner Brothers. That's all it is.
Go. All right. So your other podcast, man. So BOMB. Is it BOMB? What's the acronym for?
BOMB. Black Opinions Matter. Last M stands for motherfucker. I'll never say it. Know whether I should say it or not. But that's
the question. I was like, okay, there's two M's on there. So like,
whenever people ask me, I say Black Opinions Matter, and then I just wait until later.
Just waiting to see if they catch on.
So for BOMB, it started actually when we were back at ESPN, and we had a True Hoop podcast. We were one of the first podcasts to say we're going to have a podcast every single day, but every day it's going to be a different theme.
Okay.
So Tuesdays was going to be Woodhorse Day, and he's going to be having his reporter friends, and they're going to break scoops that aren't quite ready to be broken, like in news stories. Wednesdays was going to be about the Warriors because they were great, and Ethan Strauss was so in with them. Thursdays was going to be the analytics day, like whatever, and then Friday was going to be the mailbag day where people just send in questions.
Stuff. Yeah.
So Monday, we picked Monday, and at the time nobody wanted Monday, so we got Monday. We go make it the Black Show. We'll talk about it, but we'll talk about it like from the Black perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And we call it Black Opinions Matter Monday. And then really soon, everyone started, because our day did the best, so that was because you're on Monday. Like that's why the numbers are better on Mondays, because it's Monday.
It's
better. It's
right.
better because we're better. That's why. And so
super facts.
When we ended up leaving ESPN because of like all the schedules stuff, we couldn't do it on Mondays anymore. Started doing it on Tuesdays. So we're like, well, are we gonna change the name? I'm like, no, keep it, and we're just gonna say the last M is for motherfucker. That's what we got. But like we kind of review Black culture, like TV shows, like we watch Power, we're watching rewatch the TV show Oz and stuff like that.
Hell, y'all just did a full Donda.
Yeah, that's what I would. Yeah,
I did a full Donda. Like so,
music.
Yeah,
we also do like serious shit, like when all the shit was happening last year in Louisville with
your favorite city,
Breonna Taylor. Fuck that place. With Breonna Taylor. We had Kenny Stills and Irv Rowland. Kenny Stills, NFL player, Irv Rowland, NBA coach. They actually went out there. Right. The people got arrested at the DA's house, right, and held like without trial, held illegally for 48 hours without being read their rights or anything like that. They came on the show. They told us that whole thing, that whole story. So it's like we have fun, but like we also do some of the serious stuff, and like we kind of like we try to hit all elements of it.
So what's the brief Kanye review? What's that?
No, there's no. I didn't listen to any of that shit. I don't listen to that motherfucker.
Oh,
yo, He said slavery was a choice.
You wore the red hat.
He wore the red hat, sat in the Oval Office in front of the world, not American media, the world media, and said, "Our president got to be the flyest." And said, when I heard "I'm with her" as Hillary's slogan, which I admit is a terrible slogan too, it didn't make me feel. It made me feel good. But when I put on the red hat, I felt like Superman. I want to play catch with my dad, and then I'm like, so that's your daddy now. All right, y'all. The Jesus freaks and all that, y'all could pretend like, oh no, he's good. He found Jesus. Like, no, man. In the words of Rick Ross, God forgive, I don't. If there's forgiveness for that man, he'll find it at the pearly gates, but he ain't gonna find it here with me. So I don't fuck with his music. I don't fuck with his shoes. I don't fuck with his news. I don't care about him, his family, none of that shit. Fuck him.
Record label staff and management.
Oh, yeah. And if you're down with that, fuck you too. Cheeto XL, fuck you.
Let's go. Let's go. All right, man. And definitely we don't want to move part without talking about. And so, what is it? Meadowlark Media? Is that how you pronounce it? And it's you took that leap, man, and joined this, man. So you're definitely putting stock in it, man. How's it going? Was it some foresight that you see? Because, like, you know, ESPN's going through a few things right now. Did you see that writing on the wall, or just what was the whole situation?
So, no, absolutely. So I knew ahead of time, I'm done. Whenever this contract is over, I'm out of here. I didn't want to be there anymore. The politics just like I got to a place where 90% of my day was office politics and 10% was actually doing the job. And that's all I ever want to do. I just want to do my job. So what ended up happening was I was like, all right, when this thing's over, I'm out. And I told my agent, let's start looking for stuff, like quietly. And then literally 2 days later, Dan Le Batard said, I'm leaving ESPN. I'm gonna start my own company. And so I called Dan. I was like, I'm with you. And he's like, well, we haven't started the company. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like,
that's what's up.
And he to this day, he's like, oh, I was so brave. I'm like, it wasn't brave, bro. Like, I don't want to fuck around with these people anymore. I had a decent amount of money saved up. I worked for SiriusXM. Shout out to SiriusXM, who were great employers. And I'm very well compensated by them. So I knew, like, I can keep the lights on. And meanwhile, it ain't gonna be comfortable. Gonna become cutbacks around here. Tell my kids, like, oh no, that AC, what y'all put that back up? 77. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not going to. This is 72. No. We don't do room temperature around here. We do a little warmer, right? This is Phoenix. You don't know how these power bills work. But yeah, I was like, I knew I could do that. I had leeway to do that, to walk away. And as luck would have it, like, I didn't have to really leave anything left on the table. So I left. I got everything that was owed to me, and I walked over. And then, you know, Meadowlark, it took a while to get started, but we got started in June, and it's been great ever since.
That's beautiful, man. Well, hey, man, this has been a blast, a pleasure, man, and want to wrap this up, man. So just really quick, man, what so we call this the assist, right? This is where you get that coaching gym. You know, you telling people to jump on a rocket ship, you want to be an astronaut. So other than that, man, what is kind of like a words to live by, a life philosophy, or quote that you live by that you can leave either your younger self or the people listening?
I would say, like, follow your passion, because through passion you gain strength, and through strength you gain power, and through power you gain victory. And that's the, like, my life lesson is, I knew way back when I wasn't passionate about being an engineer, and so it wasn't leading me anywhere. And so you got to be able to, I think, follow your passion. That doesn't mean abandon everything, you know, because it's smart to have a plan B and a plan C and stuff in the meanwhile to float you. But if you're passionate about something, you got to go after it. If you want to do something, like my kid, I asked my kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? He said, basketball player. I'm like, but you never watch. I watch basketball. You never sit and watch with me. Name 10 NBA players. You can't name 10 NBA players. How often do you play basketball? Every once in a while. Like, you're not passionate about this. You're just saying that. Right. If you're passionate about it, you got to throw yourself into it. That doesn't mean don't do anything else, but there's got to be a certain level of commitment to what you want to do in order to be that. So
there you go, man. Any final quick thoughts, MH?
Appreciate you, bro.
There it is, man. Well, we thank you, man. And definitely want to shout out to Chris Malloy, man, for making this happen and putting us together,
Chris.
Man. Chris, we appreciate you, man.
Shout out Chris. I should have had him as my starting five. I should have had him as starting.
He's coming off the bench strong. Well, hey, and we want to thank you, Amin, for so much, man, for the time, making time for us and jumping on the show with us, man. Thank you to people for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. We drop these every Thursday, man. So please subscribe because to our YouTube channel, because we believe, visual representation matters. So if you can see it, you can be it. And just listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.